Helen Fields, who's an author, a crime-writing author, and a very good one as well.
She is. She's very good.
Award-winning, Ginge.
Yes.
A bit like this show.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Multi-award
winning. And she's on the line right now to tell us about her new book. Helen, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, we're really excited. We loved it last time.
It's always fun, and what a pleasure.
And are you still living in California at the moment?
No, I'm not living in California. We got to the pandemic hit and various other kind of, administrative issues for our company. We opted to come back. We wanted to be closer to family because it was at the point of time when the pandemic was still a relative unknown and a bit scary. And the children were a crucial turning point in terms of, last year for, A-levels and that sort of thing. We knew they were going to have to come back here for uni. So we made the decision to come back. Actually, we were supposed to be moving out to Belize in Central America this month. But again, the pandemic put paid to that. So I'm currently sort of between West Sussex and London and spending a lot of time, obviously, still in Scotland. So lots of travelling still, just not as much long haul, thank goodness.
Which is always better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Helen, you are a multi-best-selling author whose books have been translated into more than 20 languages. Do you have to pinch yourself?
I do when you put it like that. But because it sounds amazing. The funny thing is about it, it really creeps up on you. So you just get that first book and you kind of all the way along, you're sort of fighting to get, the next bit, get the next book out and do it. And so really that level of success kind of just crept up on me. I never imagined I would get where I am. I've got a long way to go, a lot of work left to do, a lot of practice still to have at writing, and I know that I can still get better. But the journey I've been on has been the most extraordinary thing. I'm really grateful.
And since we last spoke, you've wrote quite a few books. But before we talk about your brand new book, which is out next week, let's talk about One for Sorrow. This is the seventh book in the
Luke Kalanick series.
Yeah. See, I knew I'd throw up there, Ginge. I knew I'd make a mistake. So tell us a bit about that book.
Yeah, it took a bit of a deep breath and kind of, get a bit brave to write that book because I knew I was going to be writing something that people I was hoping would like and find exciting, but at the same time they might maybe a bit upsetting or a bit challenging or a bit difficult to read. So it was a tough book, but I've had great feedback about it. It's a little bit, without any spoilers, with a little bit of a question of kill your darlings. So I got some very unhappy emails about that. But it's sort of a bit necessary sometimes. We get a little bit too relaxed with our characters, I think, in long series. The kind of opposite of George R. R. Martin, who just kills everyone all the time. The Game of Thrones thing. I didn't go quite that far, but it needed... when you get to a certain point in a series, you need to shift things on a bit and you need some movement. So One for Sorrow did that, and it's also about a stalking case at its heart. It's about a young woman who gets into a relationship with a man that she doesn't know very well, falls madly in love, and things start to go wrong. And at the same time, there's a bomber who hits the centre of Edinburgh, and you follow both stories on a parallel path all the way through the book until the ending, where it all starts to meet each other and meet up in terms of time, and that's where the police have to really figure out who is doing these terrible things and why. And I won't say anything else because I'll ruin it.
And Dr. Connie Woodwine made her second appearance in this book. Can you tell us a bit about her character, and is she going to be in any more?
I can. That's actually quite exciting. So she's an American forensic profiler. She's very outspoken. She's very blunt. She's great fun to write because you can say the sorts of things that you would never say to your neighbours or your friends or, maybe your husband or your wife at a push if you're feeling brave. But, so she is that person and she's brilliant. So she was, yes, in The Shadow Man, where she was a main character. She pops up again to do the profiling in One for Sorrow. And she has these couple of brief, really chapters, but again, really good fun and really important part of the book. To the extent that the book that will come out next March the 1st next year, is another Connie Woodwine book. That's called The Institution. Yeah, and she has to go undercover inside a high-security hospital prison and find out which of the very dangerous group of serial killers held on this one particular ward sadly killed a nurse when they were in there. And there are all sorts of reasons why they can't bring the police in, storming in, because there are other things at stake. But the bottom line is she is, put in a position where she's extremely vulnerable among these very dangerous men, and she has to figure out who the bad guy is. Huge fun to write, very difficult to write because it was a proper kind of locked room mystery. So hard to write. And I won't say any more about it. I'm hoping everyone likes it.
I've got to ask the question, where do you come up with the ideas for, like, the murders?
This is going to sound awful. I don't have any trouble at all imagining gruesome murders. It's kind of my thing. I think the hard bit for me, actually, is finding the pathway to those things in terms of dropping clues and making it believable, making it logical, and making it all work out properly and come together at the end. The gripping, gory bits, that doesn't tax me. But I think there's a much more difficult pathway because people want to feel like they can figure out some of the clues, but they don't want to feel like they guessed it properly. It should still be a surprise at the end. And that's a much more difficult thing to figure out.
Tell us about your new book, The Last Girl to Die. Is this a standalone book?
Very much so. It's set on the Isle of Mull, and it's completely new cast of characters. Save that. What I have done for people who read the series regularly and kind of, were desperate for me to do another Luke and Ava, there are a couple of familiar characters from the Luke and Ava books who will pop up in The Last Girl to Die. So for anybody who knows my stuff and reads it, there are a couple of little sort of Easter eggs, left around, which is really great fun to do. But actually, it's got a new protagonist, Sadie Levesque, who is a Canadian private investigator who was called onto the Isle of Mull when a teenager goes missing. She's an expert in finding missing teenagers. And she's been called over by a family who just moved there from America. It's a very international cast. And she's asked to go there. Sadly, that first girl is found dead, and she stays there then to try and figure out what happened, and more terrible things unfold as she's there, and she's got to fight her way through the community that then kind of closes ranks and doesn't really want her there, and police officers who don't really want her there sticking her nose in and, messing up crime scenes and things. So it was a joy to write because the Isle of Mull is absolutely beautiful. It's an amazing place to set a book. It's got a fabulous history. There are little elements in it of the ancient myths and legends of Mull. There's little bits of witchcraft, as it was 500 years ago. And, it's all about teenage girls and how they feel empowered. So there are lots of threads going through, but at its heart, it's just a crime story about these missing girls and the investigator trying to figure out what on earth is going on this small island.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
Does sound very good. I mean, your characters always have quite exciting names, don't they? Would you ever consider having a character called John or Pauline?
Yeah, that's my mum and dad tradition.
I think I should definitely do that. Do you know what it is? I think my name is so boring. I always felt slightly bored by my own name. And I thought, if I'm going to have the license to be able to go and create these wonderful new people, then I might as well give them all the sorts of names that I always wish I'd had.
Yeah. Darren, I mean, that's a nice name.
It is. Yeah, it is a very nice name.
Yeah. So this book...
It's a kind of superhero kind of name,
really. So this book is out on the 1st of September, and it's on audio as well, isn't it?
It is, partly by the brilliant Robin Lang, who does the narration for the Luke and Ava series, but also by a new narrator called Jamie Barbakoff, the woman Jamie Barbakoff, because it's first-person narration here. And they've done a superb job. I'm so pleased. I'm very, very excited for everyone to hear it.
In fact, shall we have a little sneaky peek?
Why not?
Let's have a sneaky peek.
Adriana fought the impulse to scream, kept her mouth shut until she could reach the surface and gulp down oxygen. She kicked and twisted, thrashed and pulled, her clothes ripped from her as she was dragged down the beach by her hair and into the icy depths. The island heard the scream she had no chance to issue. It washed her pain in its water. Addie regretted her own stupidity, her desire to befriend and fit in, her warmth and openness. She regretted the job she'd taken that had put her face on show for all to see, and for some, to desire.
Ooh. I could probably listen to an audiobook.
Yes.
I mean, have you got many books? Are all your books on audio?
They are all on audiobook. Do you know what's an amazing thing? Because they've been done brilliantly and beautifully. I struggle to listen to audiobooks because my mind wanders a little bit too much. So I'm better off with the page in front of me because it forces me to concentrate. But I know, there's been a massive rise in the popularity of audiobooks.
Yeah.
More and more people. And I think people, walking the dog, driving a long way to work, doing the school run, people who find it hard to sit with a book for all sorts of reasons, and people do a lot of travelling. So the rise in audiobooks has been exponential in terms of the market. And people love them, and people get in touch with me all the time to say what a brilliant narrator Robin Lang is, and he is. He's just appeared on the latest season of Outlander, and he was in Band of Brothers. He's an amazing actor, and I think when you find the right voices and the right narrator for a book, it really brings it to life.
Now, if people want to find out more about you, Helen, and of course all the books that you've written, have you got a website?
I have. You can find me at helenfields.com, and I'm all over the place. I'm annoyingly all over social media. You really can't miss me.
Helen Fields. Oh, it's been lovely talking to you, as always. Round of applause.
You.
Helen, round of applause to you.
Spread the word. Tell all your friends and family about Ginger and Nuts, the best community radio show.